Hi, everybody. Welcome to our third first and second grade science lesson. This is week 26, if you're keeping track. And before we get started, I just wanted to tell you guys, thank you so much for all of the emails that you sent. You guys have done an amazing job with your insects and also with your fish. They were some of the coolest looking fish. You're super creative too, finding things to use at home, different supplies and things like that. I'm really proud of you guys. I wanted to have a slideshow to show you the different fishies that each of you guys had done, but I'm having a really hard time with my internet to get it to project to this video. So I'm still thinking about how to do that. Maybe I can send it out as a link for you to view some of the things that your fellow students have done. So with that said, if you haven't sent me one yet, send it now. Send it, take a picture, if you still have it, of your fish from last week and show it so I can include it with the others. And then also, if you created an insect on the very first week, send that too, and I'll include those too. So I'll see if I got to figure out a way so that you guys can see them, but I have loved seeing them. They're really, really good, really creative. I'm so proud of you guys. You listened so well in those lessons and you labeled the parts of your insect and then of your fish. And they kind of blew my mind. So I'm really proud of all of you. So if you haven't sent me an email yet, send it now for sure so that I can see those. Okay. All right. So today's lesson is a mystery science. We haven't done those yet on our recording. So it's going to be a little bit different. Just like when we're in class, you're going to listen right along with me. And when it's time for us to stop and discuss things, I want you to turn to the person, if you're watching it with someone, and answer that question, or just say it out loud like I'm right there. You know how mystery science, he'll ask you a question. What do you think about this or that? I want you to answer though, okay? Oh, I got a really bright light. You see that? Whoa. So you can see me. I'm not at the school today. I'm at my house. So let's get started with mystery science. And today, I can get to it. Okay, now if you haven't printed out your Mad Hatter's worksheet, I'm actually going to show it to you right now. So you guys can see that. You'll want to have these supplies. They were listed on our supply list. These are what you're going to need after the video to use for your experiment. So foil, a paper plate, paper towel, and a paper bag. Well, let's get going on our video.
Nice and warm. You got your swimsuits on. You're going to go for a swim.
Hang on. Let's start at the beginning.
Swimsuits on. You're going to
back it up.
Hi, it's Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Imagine that you and your class are on a field trip together on a fishing boat out at sea. It's so much fun, nice and warm. You got your swimsuits on. You're going to go for a swim in the ocean. Good. Suddenly, though, the boat runs into some rocks jutting out of the sea. They break a hole in the side of the boat, and the captain yells that the boat is sinking. You all have to grab life jackets and jump overboard. Splash. Now, luckily, there's a beautiful tropical island within swimming distance. So you all swim ashore. Everyone's okay. The captain of the ship says he was able to get through an emergency message sent back home before the ship sank. But help is at least a week away. That's when you start to think, oh no, now what? You're just sitting there on this island with almost nothing. How are you going to survive for the next week? You're going to need some kind of shelter. You're going to need a place to sleep. You're going to need food. You're going to need fresh water. And most importantly, you look down and remember, oh my gosh, you're only wearing a swimsuit. Oh, it sure would have been nice to have some clothes with you. Or do you really need them? I mean, you know you're going to need food and shelter and water, but do you really need clothes? What's the point? You're somewhere nice and warm. It could be worse. At least you've got your swimsuit. That's when you get to thinking, are there any reasons you're going to wish you had the clothes with you on this island? And why do we wear clothes anyway? I mean, is it just to keep warm or just to avoid being embarrassed? Why do people wear clothes? Have you ever thought about that? Stop and discuss what you think.
Okay, so our question is, why do people wear clothes? How many reasons can you come up with? So let's think about it for a minute. What are some of your answers? See if your answers match some of the ones that I thought of. I can think of a couple. I like to wear clothes to cover up, to keep warm, maybe to protect our bodies, to protect our skin. What else? All right, have you told the person you're with, have you said them out loud? Why do people wear clothes? See if you've thought of a few. Okay, let's see what Doug says.
So why do we wear clothes? You probably were able to think of a few different reasons. Many of those reasons have to do with the weather. Depending on if it's cold or rainy or hot, or if there's bugs or mosquitoes around, notice that your clothes need to be made out of different stuff. They need to be made out of different materials. Not all materials are good for the same thing. That's because each material has certain traits or properties that makes it useful. For example, in the rain, you wear a raincoat, right? Well, a raincoat is made out of a plastic material, which has the property of being waterproof, meaning that water can't get through it. That's why it's such a good material to wear in the rain. But in really cold weather, you might wear a thick coat like this, which is lined with a material called wool. Wool has the property of being heat trapping. It keeps in the heat. Now, let me show you something surprising. This guy lives in the hot desert. He's wearing a long robe. Why on earth would someone wear this in the hot desert? Well, it has to do with the properties of this material that he's wearing. This robe is made out of the material called cotton. It comes from a plant and it looks just like this. Cotton is actually the most popular material for all clothing, whether you live in the desert or not. Let's explore some of its properties. Here's one reason this guy is wearing it. Cotton blocks sunlight. See that? We call this the property of being opaque, which means it doesn't let light through. And that's what keeps this guy from getting sunburned. So that's partly why someone would wear a cotton robe in the desert. Now think about what else happens when you're in the sun. You sweat, right? Especially if you're walking around or working. Sweat can feel really sticky and uncomfortable. To be comfortable, you'd like clothes that will soak up that sweat. Well, cotton is really good at just that. It can soak up that sweat. We say that cotton has the property of being absorbent, meaning it soaks up wetness. Soft is another property we want our clothing to have since we have to wear it all day. Cotton definitely has the property of being soft. It's nice and soft. In fact, because cotton is so soft, that's probably why the clothing you're wearing right now is even made out of cotton. So cotton has properties that make it very comfortable. But now just for fun, think of a situation where feeling comfortable isn't what you want. For example, a situation where you might wear a suit of armor. Definitely not comfortable to wear, right? It's made out of steel, a type of metal. Steel is the same material that your kitchen pots and pans are made of. What properties does steel have? In what situation would you want to wear something like this?
All right, what properties does this piece of clothing have? Is it heavy or light? Is it hard or soft? Stretchy or stiff? What else? So when would be a good time to wear this? Now we just got through with our medieval history unit. We know for sure when knights wore this kind of an outfit or this kind of armor. Are they trying to protect themselves? Are you trying to keep something from getting in? Some kind of weapon? Would you want it to be soft and stretchy and really, really light? Or would you want it to be heavy to protect you? So I want to hear your answers. Let's see what Doug says. Well, now what properties does this piece of clothing have? Is it light or heavy? Light, soft, very stretchy. What would be a good time to wear this outfit? Now, I definitely wouldn't want to be wearing a suit of armor if I was going to go do some gymnastics or exercise. Can you see how what you're doing, what your activity is, how important it would be to have the right kind of clothing or the right kind of what the properties you would want it to be? What about if you were swimming?
So you're stuck on this desert island without any clothes except for your swimsuit. And you're gonna have to figure out where you're gonna sleep tonight and what you'll eat for food this week and where to get drinking water. But right now, what's most on your mind is the sun. The sun is beating down on you. It's so hot. As you stand there on the beach, the only thing you can think about is how much you want a hat. So what you're going to need to make as your first piece of clothing is a hat to shade your head. Now, up till now, you might have just thought of a hat as something fun to wear. But hats can be extremely useful. Like, consider this kind of hat you might have at home if you skateboard or ride a bike. It's a helmet. A helmet is a hat made of a special, thick kind of plastic. This material has properties that are like steel. It's got the property of being hard and strong. But unlike steel, this plastic material also has the property of being light, which makes it much more comfortable. Since a helmet isn't going to do you any good on a desert island, though, let's consider some hats that might be useful to you. Like, what about a cowboy hat? You've probably all seen a cowboy hat before, but unless you live on a ranch or out in the desert, you might not have thought about just how useful cowboy hats are. Notice how most of this cowboy's face is covered in a shadow? A cowboy hat is great for shading your face when you're in the hot sun. That shadow is made by the hat's large brim. That's this part of the hat. To stick out like this, the brim has to have the property of being stiff. Without that property, the hat's brim would flap down into the cowboy's eyes. And cowboy hats aren't the only good hats to protect you from the sun. Like, check out this one. This hat's called a bonnet, and it was worn by pioneer women. It has a stiff brim too to keep off the sun, just like the cowboy hat. But unlike the cowboy hat, it also has the property of being nice and soft. So it was very comfortable to wear. Okay, here's one last example. This is a traditional hat to wear in the desert. This hat is very soft too, but this one doesn't have a stiff brim. It's just loose cloth tied around the head. It may not block the sun from his face very well, but it definitely blocks the sun on his neck. Along with being soft, this hat has the property of being absorbent, so it's great at soaking up sweat. So those are some different hats made of materials with different properties. But now it's your turn. You're going to design a hat for yourself to wear on your desert island. What kind of hat will you need? What properties do you think your hat needs to have?
All right, what kind of hat do you think that you'll need? So think about what is going to be, what's the weather and what are your needs on that desert island? What kind of things would you be looking for in a hat? So think about that for a minute. You could be writing these down on your piece of paper, or you could be telling them to the person that you're watching with, or you can just say them outside or out loud. What properties will your hat need to have? What were some of the properties we've talked about before? We've talked about them being soft or stiff. We've talked about them being heavy or light, stretchy or stiff, soft or hard. Think about what you would need on your desert island. What kind of a hat would be useful to you? We thought of a few? Okay, let's move on. How's that look? Does that look like a good hat?
In today's activity, you're going to make a hat to keep you cool on a desert island. First, let's talk about the problem you have to solve. What does your hat need to do? To get an idea of what a hat should do, let's take another look at some hats made for hot weather. Each of these hats has a stiff brim that shades you, and each one has a part that goes over your head. Seems like it'd be nice if that part was soft and soaked up sweat so that you stayed dry. So you're going to make a hat, but what materials are you going to use? You're on a desert island after all. All you have to work with are these lunch supplies from the boat, from when a lunchbox washed up on the beach. You'll look at each thing and decide whether it will be useful in making a hat. Rather than thinking about what the thing is, I want you to think about the material it's made of. Like, don't think of this paper plate as something you eat off of, or this paper bag as something to carry stuff in. Just think about how these materials can help you to shade your head. Are you ready to get started? You will work with a partner to test the properties of the materials you have. Then, each of you will make a hat, helping each other out as you work. In the end, the most successful hat will be the one that does the best job of blocking the sun. Okay, now I'll walk you through the activity step by step.
All right, so we obviously...
Get these starting supplies.
Hold on.
You'll get more supplies later.
Hold on, Doug.
When you're done with this step, press the arrow on the right.
Okay, so we obviously aren't working in our classrooms in pairs. If you have someone with you that you want to work with, a sibling or a parent, great, grab them and have them help you. But I want this to be your work. This is you trying to figure out what kind of a hat would be useful to you on that desert island. So on your additional supplies, take a minute. These were listed. Go ahead and find those and get them ready for you. So you've got your piece of foil, a paper plate, a paper towel, and a lot of us have those paper towels that it looks like you can tear apart. This looks like a full square, so if they're those skinny kind, it's 2 of them. And then a paper lunch sack, or if you have any other kind of a paper bag, that would work too. Now, if you printed off your Mad Hatter's worksheet, you're gonna do some experiments with these supplies, and you're gonna figure out how each of them, what the qualities are in them that would help with making your hat. So if you have your supplies ready, push pause until you've got them all in front of you. And then once you've got your supplies, go ahead and unpause and we'll get going.
Softness test. Rub each material. Answer question 1 on the worksheet. You do this test to decide which materials feel soft enough to go on your head.
All right, so each one of those 4 materials, I want you to feel them and see how soft they are. So they're rubbing the paper bag right there. Is it soft? Is it rough? Is it hard? So what would be soft enough to put on your head? Go ahead and circle whichever supply or whichever material you think would be soft enough to put on your head. Now, if at any time while we're doing this experiment, you need to stop, you just go ahead and push the pause button, right?
Get these supplies for the next step.
So you need a little bit of water and a spoon. Now you don't have to have a paper cup or a paper spoon. You can just use any kind of a cup and a spoon. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna get these different materials, see how they react to water. So go get your cup and a spoon with just a little bit of water in it. And when you're ready to go, push play.
Wet soaker test. Use the spoon to drip water on each material. Answer question 2. You do this test because the part of the hat that goes on your head needs to be able to soak up sweat.
Now, do you guys remember back when we were watching the video, there was a hat of the little boy was wearing in the desert? Did that seem like something that would soak up some sweat? No. So you need to think about what would be good. What would be something that would be good to soak up sweat? I want you to think about what it's going to be like when you put the water on the aluminum foil, the paper towel, or the paper bag. So perform that experiment on each one of those materials, the foil, the paper plate, paper towel, and the paper bag. So go ahead and push pause and perform that experiment. And then when you have your results, go ahead and circle which one you feel like would be the best to soak up sweat. So go ahead and push pause.
Stiffness test. Hold each material like this to see if it droops down or stands stiff. Answer question 3. You do this test because your hat's brim needs to be stiff so that it doesn't flop into your eyes.
So remember when he talked about the cowboy hat, or did you see that funny hat that had the rim around it and the umbrella? Why would you want something that was stiff? You're trying to cover your face to keep the sun off of it, right? So certain materials are going to hold up to that. Remember back to the cowboy hat and to the bonnet. If something is stiff enough to give you some shade, I want you to circle which one of these materials you feel like is the best that would make a good brim. And the brim is the front part of the hat, or the part that shades your face. That's called the brim. See how it's spelled there? B-R-I-M. I don't know if you've thought about that word before. So aluminum foil, paper plate, paper towel, and paper bag. So do the stiffness test and then push pause. Or push pause and then do the stiffness test. All right. Any of those materials, could you make them more stiff? What could you do to make those materials more stiff? Is there something you could do to them? that you could add to them, that you could combine? Think about that for a second. What do you think? Give your answer to the person that you're with, or go ahead and say it out loud or jot it down on your piece of paper. Can you make any of those materials more stiff? What are your ideas? What are your suggestions? Okay, hopefully you've got a couple of ideas. Let's move on.
Get the final supplies. These will help you put your hat together.
Now on your optional supply list, you have string, but instead of, if you didn't have a clothespin or these binder clips, you could use paper clips or even bobby pins. Some of you that have bobby pins in your house to hold back your hair. Anything that would help clamp two things together, but we're not using scissors or tape. We're using some kind of a clip. Maybe you have a potato chip clip. Keep your potato chip bag closed. So gather your string and your clips. Hopefully those are there right with you right now. If not, push pause and go get those and then come back.
Make a hat that shades you from the sun. Share ideas and help your classmates. You don't have to use every material. If you're really stuck, ask your teacher for an inspiration sheet.
So you only have four materials to work with, but you have a lot of creativity. And I've seen it over the last couple of weeks with your fish and your insects. What could you use each of these materials? How could you use them to put them together with only what we've given you? A clip. You've got a pencil to take notes. Can you see in the bottom right-hand corner how they're punching some holes in that paper plate? Don't go get a hole puncher. Don't go get a pair of scissors. You can only use the supplies that you have. What are you going to do with them? Think about it. Now, I'm not there to give you some inspiration, but I can just tell you, how would you shade your face? What would be the best thing to soak up the sweat that you might have out on a desert island? How are you going to keep the hat on? Look how creative they are up in that top corner with connecting the string around your chin. Okay, you kind of thought about some ideas. You need a little more time. Just push pause. Kind of get creative. You can even write some ideas down or sketch some down, what you think you might do. And when you're ready, just push play.
Your teacher will ask for volunteers to show off their hat and talk about its materials. Each person will answer these questions. What materials did you use? What properties of those materials were helpful?
Okay, now you could go look at yourself in the mirror or look at the person that you're with. Did you use all four of the materials? Did you use the plate and the tin foil, the paper bag and paper hat, paper plate, paper bag, tin foil, and paper towel? Did you use them all? Did you only use one or two? How did you get it to go together? How creative. What did you use your ingenuity? I'll bet if you were on a desert island, you'd have to be using a lot of creativity to figure these things out. The different materials, they have different properties. We've talked about some of them are stiff, some of them are absorbent. Where did you use those different materials? In what place in the hat? Did you make sure and consider that? Did you use something absorbent so that it would soak up sweat? And did you use something stiff to give you a brim? How did you do? All right. Go ahead and push pause. All right, I'm back. Hello. Now, I for sure want to see these hats. So will you have mom or dad or sibling take a picture of you and send me a picture of this hat? And I want you, if you can, to, in the email, write down why you chose the materials that you did. Why did you choose to use the paper plate the way you did? Why did you choose to use the tinfoil in the way that you did? What was your reasoning? Did you only use a small piece of it? Did you use a lot of it? Give me some of your ideas of why you did what you did. Now, this was a really short lesson today. You know, if we had been all together in our class, we would have had some crazy fun with making these hats and kind of giving each other some inspiration. So it's kind of hard when you're alone, but I know that you guys have a lot of creativity and a lot of ingenuity. That means you can think of things, make them work, kind of use what you have. That's sort of what we're all doing right now, right? Just using the things that we have. So go ahead and get that hat, get a picture taken of it, and tell me a little bit about it and why you did it the way you did. And then send the pictures to me. And by next week, hopefully I can get something set up where you can see all of the fish and the insects and the hats when we do our next mystery science. So you guys did a great job today. I hope you're enjoying your lessons and that everyone is happy and taking care of your family, having fun. And we miss you guys a lot. So enjoy your live meetups with your classes this coming week. Make sure you log on and talk to your teacher and your friends and kind of have that interaction. And then Specials Day classes will be offered this week. So that will be fun too. You can participate that way. So be sure to email me if you have any questions. Okay.